Trade offer alert. I receive bananas. You receive military dictatorship. Would you like to make this trade agreement with the CIA? You drive a hard bargain. I'll take 20 of them. Not bananas, the dictatorships. This is my neighbor. He is pain in my a-hole. USA talking about their Soviet neighbor. I fight civil war. He fights civil war. I put missile in Turkey. He puts missile in Cuba. I survived past 1991. He cannot. Great success. I wish my Borat accent was so much better. I read this in his voice, but I couldn't say it out loud. Has anyone ever thought, what if the USSR is going for the Obi-Wan Kenobi strats? Maybe they let us strike them down so that they could actually become more powerful than we could ever imagine. You know, it's really disappointing that Steven Spielberg had to cut this scene from Saving Private Ryan. A very small detail during D-Day, but honestly, it had such a big impact. We wouldn't have been able to destroy the No-No Germans if we also simultaneously didn't destroy the one ring inside of Mount Doom. I'm like imagining this whole scene play out, except with a bunch of orcs shooting arrows inside of the boats. It'd be equally as gruesome. Me as a teenager having to learn 10 pages and watch some videos of my country's history for history class. Me as an adult reading a 400-page book and watching 1-hour-long videos of Roman history in my free time. What kind of horrifying off-brand rage comics are these faces? For real, this is me too, and I'm pretty sure it just has to do with the fact that I was being forced to do something. Like, I just hate being forced to do something. Especially learning. Being forced to learn? No. Learning on my own because learning is cool. That's my vibe right there. Russia. We managed to send a dog to space. Humanity, OMG, he's our hero. When will the good boy return? Oops, we didn't think that far ahead. Actually, the doggo had a return procedure, but apparently he didn't study enough the night before, so he's not coming back. He did this to himself, not us. The dog was a she, you bitch. What's even crazier is that she was also homeless and on the streets. And then she became an astronaut. Anything is possible. What is up with the Lord of the Rings references today? Oh, never mind. I'm actually totally okay with this. How are the elves gonna make it to their, like, land now? Are they not gonna be able to leave anymore? I don't even remember if this was what the elves had to pass through, but it doesn't matter. What Hilter did was whack, but don't do it, bro. Please, Dion. Please don't do it. It doesn't matter what he's about to follow this up with. Just keep it to yourself, man. Famous last words. Recently, people on Twitter have been posting pictures of their grandparents throughout history. This very nice gentleman brought us his grandma in the Philippines when she met an American soldier, circa 1943. Just after being liberated from Japan, you could tell they were happy. She was very thankful that this nice American soldier saved them. And you know what? This American soldier looking pretty thick. Monarchists listening to royalty-free music. I just now realized you can actually see the line. You can see him being held on safely. Either that's like a line to protect him, or it's like a spear that he also took to the stomach. European borders, developed over thousands of years of geography, conflict, and political upheaval. American state borders, this is an excellent rectangle. I think I'll make 12 more. To be fair, they did get a little bit more experimental at times. With Nevada, they decided to combine a rectangle with a triangle, and California is kind of like two rectangles put together, except this one is slanty. Idaho and Montana was the one place where they're like, we gotta change it up. This is starting to look like every other state. Let's put some squigglies in here and that'll be fine. Japanese kamikaze pilots, when they see an allied warship, I'm removing the speed limiter. I can never get out of my head just how much money the Japanese military saved by not teaching any of these pilots how to land. Like, that's the most difficult part about flying, isn't it? Some smart financial tips right there. Protestant Sweden pulling on their side of the rope with the help of Catholic France? Protestant Catholic, what are you guys doing on the same side? Versus Catholic Austria and Protestant Denmark. What? To me personally, there will never be a war more confusing than the 30 Years' War. Like, what the hell even is this? Anti-Imperial Alliance at 1635, but then there was a few people changing sides. People were joining in during different years. To me, it literally made just no sense. The lines weren't drawn purely based on faith. It just keeps getting more complicated. Like, what the hell even is this map? I don't even know what I'm looking at here. It's just a cluster. And then there's this diagram that shows you just how messy it got. Some countries were in on one side during one time. Like 20 years later, they joined the... what the hell is Saxony doing? People were dropping out and joining back in. Transylvania couldn't even make up their mind. Indirectly against the emperor. What does this all mean? Speaking of that, perfect segue to, have you bought your very own Polandball yet? That was a terrible segue. I just didn't know how else to get here. This is the only time in the world you'll ever be able to get a winged hussar in Polandball form. If you want to get your hands on these rare balls, check out the makeshift link in the description down below. My GF, promise you won't get all political in front of my parents. Me, 3 drinks in, the world is changing. When will it stop? That's right, the world is changing. Why is everything Lord of the Rings now? I don't remember having sexy wizards in history. Oh, wait a second. Chinese students start talking about foreigners. The British, Americans, Russians, French, Germans, Italians, Austrians, and Japanese foreign exchange students. The secret pact shall be obeyed. You think your fellow pupil would be interested in buying some opium? Is community welcoming and wondering what my flag stands for? Me just interested in modern Chinese history. For some reason, I'm just imagining this side getting a little nervous. Oh god, I didn't see the new update. I've never seen this one before. Act natural. Fun fact, a rainbow Armenian flag was actually proposed in the early 1900s. I wonder if there are people that still like rock this in Armenia to this day. There's gotta be at least one mad lad out there. How European borders are decided. Those people over there speak my language. Give me that land. Those people over there speak my language. Give me that land. Well, I just want to be bigger, so both of you give me that land. Well, we know which one is the Germany in this situation. How the US-Canadian border was decided. 49th parallel? 49th parallel. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Jesse Pinkman says, Habsburg incest caused the golden age of piracy in the Caribbean. Walter White, what? Austrian and Spanish Habsburgs married one another in order to keep hold of their lands and dominate Europe. The last Spanish Habsburg, Charles II, was impotent, and his death caused a succession crisis in Spain. Sailors that fought in the Americas were unemployed after the war, so resorted to piracy. Jesse, what the f are you talking about? History, bitch. Don't let Jesse fool you. He actually studied history in grad school, but he had to resort to this to pay off his student loans. Now that's a plot right there. Damn. Bruh, you bought a Kanabo to a sword fight? Freaking cringe. Everyone's cringing right now if I didn't pronounce that right. Bonk. It literally means metal stick. I can see why it wouldn't seem that threatening, but it is spiked or studded. And it looks like this guy might be up for a game of baseball after the fight. That doesn't look very sharp, but maybe they just didn't sharpen it. Maybe they're doing it dull, just in case someone like goes inside the case and tries to restart old Monarchist Japan fights. Now that is a little bit more terrifying. When you give it to a giant demon, now I'm scared. I guess how do you block this? Like this would not be a fun item to try to like ching. Now the real question is, what do you got? This versus Pike. Pike obviously good for like longer distance, keeping those foos away. But if the other thing gets close enough, you're done. German officers, when they look at their logistics in the USSR, we weren't prepared for this at all. Didn't someone determine that this was like the downfall for almost every invasion of Russia? Like it's just constantly leaders not listening to their logistics team. Imagine losing to Nam, says the British. USA comes back with, imagine losing your empire. France. Ooh, it's one of those group chats you just want to stay as far away from as possible. All the boys are about to roast you. They call you the peacemaker, says the entire world and all their flags. USA responds, I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I need to oof to get it. The old, I must do it for peace, casus belli, a strategy as old as time. The world was so much better when I was a kid. Ooh, nice car. The world when he was a kid. Don't act like it's just boomers saying that. Seeing a whole lot of millennials and Gen Z be like, oh, I wish I could grow up in the 80s. Some of y'all couldn't even survive 10 years ago, let's be real. Now the USSR is Borad, bit more accurate. He is pain in A. I get a radical ideology, he must get a radical ideology. I invade Poland, he must invade Poland. I win WW2, he cannot. Great success. Didn't Germany invade first? But all right. What's metric, precious? What's metric A? Man, my Gollum accent, I suck. Kilograms, meters, liters, kilometers too. Filthy hobbits. What would be his response to that? How much the USA loves their Fahrenheit system? When the Roman guards check Jesus' tomb and it's empty? Oh man, I am so fired. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be worse than just fired. I think it's time to say goodbye to your family. What? Seems kind of dark, but... The Soviet diplomat Molotov was reportedly the only man to ever shake hands with Stalin, Lenin, Hitler, Himmler, Göring, Roosevelt, and Churchill. Also, wasn't Molotov the one that signed the agreement, the Ribbentrop-Molotov, like the German-Soviet alliance for a second there? Non-aggression pact. Obviously, that didn't work out, but I'm just saying. And was he the one that tried to investigate what happens if you put a cloth inside a vodka and light it, and then chuck it over to your enemies? Pretty sure they probably figured that out before him. Who else here loves Post Malone in aesthetic black and white pics? Hey, Post Malone, I would have some sort of assistant start checking your food every time before you eat it. Also, don't trust the CIA. It's talking, Mary. The tree is talking. And this is always the first thing I think of whenever we say the trees are speaking tree. I will never be able to get this out of my head. An image of the Western Hemisphere, the Vikings going, hey, I've seen this one. Columbus, what do you mean you've seen it? It's brand new. This is probably accurate, right? Columbus had no idea the Vikings had discovered North America, right? There's just no way. He didn't know. I don't even think the Vikings knew they discovered North America. I mean, they knew they discovered something, but it probably wasn't named North America. When you go from an absolute monarchy to a republic to a dictatorship, then to a monarchy to a republic again. Parkour. Yes. Now, can we not draw France as a thick anime woman? Thank you. This is the most anti-imperialist continent in the world. Europe. The only way I'm getting rid of my colonies is if you pry them from my cold... Oh, sweats. Don't mind him. He's just pretending. Russia, Prussia, and Austria all ripping apart Poland. Don't look at this one, buddy. Red plus yellow equals orange. Yeah, that makes sense. Blue plus red equals purple. Yeah, I can see that. Canada didn't gain its independence until the 1980s. What the frick? Nope. Didn't know about that. Canada, were you guys embarrassed? You weren't gonna tell us that? China making territorial claims be like, I was there 3,000 years ago. Yeah, no, probably. Because they were. There's pretty good documentation about that stuff, right? People all over the world advancing from stone to bronze to iron. Sub-Saharan Africans jumping straight to iron in 2500 BCE. It's like they're playing a game of Civilization and they're just rushing one tech. And big thanks to the patrons Zeffi, Stormtrooper 501, Patrick C, Poppy Drew Woo, Manny 74, Mac, M203 BrushEm, LuxembourgLover, I'm About a Nut, FusionWolf, Full Send Nick, EpiNick, Elijah Senpai, Dalton D, AryanAfterHours, Anikyte, Aaron F, and Aaron F2. If you'd like to become a patron, check the link down below.